Alright, more turtles in it. TMNT Journeys Issue 1 from IDW. This is, well, it is called TMNT Journeys, not Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, because they're not actually teenage in this. What we have here is a re-release of the 2001 series, originally published by Mirage Studios. This has been out of print and uncollected in all the years since. It was the final Turtle series done at Mirage, and it ended mid-story with no resolution. IDW intend to re-release it and then hopefully finish it off with new issues. This is by Turtles co-creator Peter Laird, with pencils by Jim Lawson. No Kevin Eastman involvement here, although he did do a variant cover for IDW to go with this. He'll do a variant cover for almost any comic with the Turtles in. The Moon, airless and lifeless, silent, black and white as well. That is something I should talk about, actually. I am glad that they kept this black and white. IDW have had a problem where they feel the need to colour or recolour the hard TMNT comics. But between this and the Renette one-shot, it seems they are finally open to letting the stories retain their original black and white appearance. We are on the moon, and we have a robot, a big, beefy robot. He's been having whatever Archie Adventures Ace Duck has been having. And this robot is exploring and scanning the moon landing site. This is quite a methodically slow setup, but we find out that the robot serves the Utrom. The Utrom are the alien race from Dimension X. I'll explain them in a few seconds, but we learn that they are building on the moon. They are setting up shop on Earth's moon. So the Utrom, to go back, the Utrom were from some of the very first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles comics. They are the little squid-like, brain-like aliens that are housed in a robotic body, the stomach of a robotic body. Most famously, Krang is usually of Utrom origin. Not always in the adaptations, but generally, Krang is considered some form of Utrom. And one version of Shredder is an Utrom. This setup is intriguing, but vague. I'm not sure if there's enough there to make someone sit up from their seat. And there's also a tremendous hubris in that it expects a reader to recognise both the Utrom and this robot. I am unsure who the robot is. It mentions having met the Turtles before. My first thought was Fugitoid, but it looks nothing like the Fugitoids. Then we have the Turtles, the no longer Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They are said to be about 30 years of age in this. And it's these Turtles bits where it feels really energetic and like hard home week. There's even a double spread in the vein of the iconic shot from the first ever issue. I love that first issue. Let's show that image now. Here, that's it. The first Turtles comic is extraordinary. For me, they kinda dropped off after that. The first 8 or so issues after the first one don't really live up to how exciting and efficient that first issue is. The one-shots, the Raphael one-shot, first appearance of Casey Jones, the Michelangelo one, Nice Christmas Story, Donatello, that is the one with Jack Quimby, and then Leonardo, which is mostly silent ninja action. Those 4 one-shots, micro-series as they call it, they are what should have followed the first issue. The comic picks up again around the return of Shredder, issue 10 or 11, but I dipped out a bit earlier, the Dave Sim one. What I've read after that, I think that one is issue 8. What I have read of the original Turtles after that has been in those best of one-shots, which have allowed me to say that it does pick up again with issue 10 or 11. I didn't really want to bash it because what they did with Turtles really was special. It's an overused adjective, but it's very punk. The approach, everything about the early TMNT comics. It's amazing do-it-yourself attitude. I love that. I appreciate that. I think they stumbled a bit once they had done it themselves. But that doesn't negate how tremendous that first one is, or how exceptional it is that this scrappy little comic became what it is today. The Turtles are fighting a street gang called the Mad Hatton Militia. Double pun there. That's right, it's the Mad Hatton Militia. The action is really good, and Peter Laird gets the Turtles' voices down perfectly too. And then Jim Lawson, well, Jim Lawson's part in the Turtles' legend is too understated. Jim Lawson is providing art here. Peter Laird is inking Jim Lawson actually. But Jim Lawson was one of the very first people they inducted into the series. He started out inking Eastman and Laird, and that blossomed into him doing pencils himself. And he became almost the quintessential Turtles artist. So much of their design was finessed by Jim Lawson. I feel he has always been undervalued within the history of the Turtles. After reading this, I did think to myself that it felt a little light, but actually this action scene is a lot longer than I remembered. It might be light on story, but I don't think I can complain about it feeling empty. One of the big developments is that Donatello, he gets into a sled chase, and Michelangelo tries to follow after him. And Michelangelo ends up getting hit by a bus. Michelangelo is seriously injured. And then a guy in a cape and a helmet, a superhero called Ragnarok, takes him aside and puts him out of harm's way. No idea who Ragnarok is. It looks like either a Thor parody or maybe a Magneto one. An important thing about this series, originally, was that it was coming along and saying that the Image run wasn't canon. If you don't know, in the 90s, Brie Larson's granddad bought up the rights to publish Turtles. And he did a series, by which I mean he had awful ideas and got a guy called Gary Carlson to try and write his awful ideas for him. Raphael loses an eye and becomes their archenemy. He becomes the new Shredder. Donatello dies in one of the first issues and is resurrected as a cyborg. Splinter transforms into a bat. Leonardo loses a hand. Casey Jones becomes Brie Larson's granddad's super patriot. And like all of Brie Larson's granddad's runs on any book since 1992, his real ambition goes as far as taking another property and bending it over backwards to allow for a Savage Dragon guest appearance advertisement. That series is relevant here for a second reason though. Before this, IDW re-released that one, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Urban Legends is what they called it. They re-released each issue of that series, and they coloured those ones. And then when they got to the end, they had the writer Gary Carlson and artist Frank Fosco come back and write 3 new issues to finally resolve the story. While I think the whole thing sounds bad, I do appreciate that 20 years later, IDW allowed them to finally conclude their thing. The same intention is here. When we get to the point when this is over, Peter Laird and Jim Lawson will hopefully get to wrap up this otherwise unfinished run. We have April and Casey here. They are married now. And we have Shada Jones, who I know nothing about. Nothing at all. She is training with Splinter. She is apparently Casey and April's teenage stepdaughter. I don't think it is the strongest cliffhanger. I think Mikey's injury would have worked better. This series is releasing every 2 months. Issue 2 is in October, and then the next one is in December. Plenty of lead time for Peter Laird and Jim Lawson to get it finished. There is the cover pencils before they were all painted up. At first, I thought I would be quite down on this. It felt a bit underwhelming. But as I went through it on here, I realised I was being a bit hasty in my judgment. There's stuff in here. The problem is that what we get isn't wholly clear in what it means or will mean. Mikey's injury is easy to comprehend. That is definitely the strongest hook here. What will last with people and they will feel invested in. But I'm sure the Utrom plot will end up being very important. I think it's worth supporting this for the goal of completing unfinished works. There's so many great comics that were cut down before their time, and it's not every day that we get to see one resurrected with the original creative team the way IDW have done with Journeys and Urban Legends. The 7 thumbs up is for that, but I liked parts of the issue too.